Hi friends, I'm Stone, and welcome back to the Mountaintop Kitchen. Today we're baking a sourdough pumpkin swirl bread that's as stunning as it is delicious. Golden pumpkin dough twisted with a ribbon of warm spice filling, soft, tender, full of flavor. It slices into beautiful swirls that are perfect for sharing and even better for showing off. So let's get started making this dough for our pumpkin swirl bread. This is going to be so tasty, you're going to love it. I'm going to start by adding active sourdough starter. I have fed this 3 times, so it's nice and fresh, and it expanded almost triple overnight. So I'm going to put about 240 grams into my bowl. Now, all of the quantities and measurements will be listed here on screen, or you can find them below in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Or also, I will put a link to my Substack recipe newsletter where you can get everything. So let me get 240 grams of this active starter into the bowl. Let's see, that's about a cup, but let's go ahead and get it in there. This is going to be I love everything sourdough. I love everything pumpkin. This is going to be a great combination. I'm going to add to that. Now we're just going to do an Autolyse right now so that the flour can absorb the liquids, and then we'll add the other ingredients in about 30 minutes. So I have my milk, and I have, of course, my pumpkin. So let's just put that in. Great. And we'll just give that a little mix, and then we'll get it onto the mixer and mix it up. Just a quick little mix here. And I have my flour here. That's good. So now I'm just going to get all of my flour into the bowl, and then we're going to mix this for about 8 to 10 minutes. Slow at first, pulsing. We don't want the flour flying out. All right, we're just going to let this go for about 8 to 10 minutes until we have our dough started. Okay, we let that mix for about 3 minutes, I guess, before we do our actual Autolyse. So we're just going to push this dough off the dough hook, and we're going to cover it and let it set here for about 25 to 30 minutes while that flour absorbs some of the liquid. For about 25 to 30 minutes to Autolyse. So before we continue with our dough, today we are making 2 loaves, 2 pumpkin swirl sourdough loaves. And I am using 2 Pullman pans. These are 9 by 4 inches. Now, you can use either these, or you can use any bread pan that you have available. Even one that's more like a standard 9 by 5 pan. You can use these as well. But we're going to be using the Pullman pans today. Okay, so this has been Autolysing for a while. So let's just take the cover off. And let's continue with mixing our dough. I'm going to go ahead and add in the sugar. We have some brown sugar. And I should mention that we're using bread flour today. We're not using all-purpose, we're using bread flour. That's what we have in the bowl. Our salt, our cinnamon, and we're going to add in the butter bit by bit. So I have some softened butter here. I'm just going to add that in. And I'm going to let this mix for about 3 minutes or so, up to 8 if I need to. I want to see it to start to pull away a little bit from the bowl. Okay, we've taken our bowl off of the mixer with our pumpkin bread dough. And I have a lightly greased bowl here that I'm going to place the dough into, cover it, and let it bulk ferment overnight. You can also do this like 4 to 6 hours at room temperature. But if you want to develop the sourdough flavor just a little bit more, you can let this bulk ferment overnight in the fridge. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to put this dough into this other bowl and we'll be done, at least until tomorrow. So, okay, so we pretty much have our dough out and into the bowl. I'm just going to wipe my hands off first and cover this with plastic. And I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator overnight. And we'll be back about this time tomorrow to continue shaping our bread loaves and getting them baked. All right, while our dough is proofing and all that, let's get on with making our pumpkin spice, buttery, sugary filling that we're going to be making our swirl inside of our bread. I have some brown sugar and I have some pumpkin spice. I will put in the description box below how I made my own pumpkin spice. It's very easy, only 5 ingredients. Dump all that in there. And then some melted butter. Let's mix this up a little bit. Try to get it somewhat integrated. The sugar and the spices before we add the butter in. Okay, put in our melted butter. And let's just keep mixing that up. Now I also have some flour. I may not add all of this. I'm looking for a nice spreadable consistency. I don't want something that's too loose or something that's too firm, that's not spreadable. So I'm just going to sprinkle this in until I'm happy. Now, I do give the quantities in the description box below and right here on screen so that you can have the same amount already when you're getting ready to make your pumpkin spice swirl. Now, if you do find that you've gone too far and your paste has become too thick, just add a little bit more melted butter. And if it's too thin, just keep adding in some flour. I think this is really good. This is nice and spreadable. And I think this is where we're going to stop, right here. So I have my pumpkin spice swirl filling that we're going to put into the breads, into both loaves. All right, our dough has been cold fermenting in the fridge for about 24 hours actually. It completed its bulk fermentation in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to try to get this into a square shape right now. Just kind of pat it out into a square to get started because we're going to have to roll this out into a 10 by 14 inch rectangle. Okay, so I have my rolling pin and I'm just going to start rolling out the dough until I'm about 14 inches by 10 inches. And I try to roll from the center out, not from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top, but from the center down and then from the center up. Okay, it's about 14 and 10 and 10. We're right about where we want to be. So I've got my 10 by 14 rectangle. Now I'm going to spread on our pumpkin spice buttery sugary mix. I'm just going to kind of dollop it here and there to get started, and then we'll spread it out. This is already smelling wonderful. Okay, so I've got it all on there. I'm just going to take my offset spatula and start spreading it out across. This is looking pretty good already, so I am going to go ahead and stop right here because it doesn't have to be perfect. And from the short end, I'm going to roll up tightly. So I'm going to start very tight and keep it very tight. So just rolling, kind of pushing in the sides as I go, rolling, pushing in, rolling, pushing back in, pushing in, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my cutting board over. Now what we're going to do is we've got the seam on the bottom. Let's kind of pinch that in a little bit. Kind of pinch it in to seal it off. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half lengthwise. So here I go. Just right down the middle. Perfect. And just to make sure that I don't have one fat end and one skinny end, I'm going to turn this one around. Put them side by side. You want to keep the filling ridges up, and we're just going to start to crisscross over one another. Okay, and this one across this way, and this one back across this way. And then we'll close off with this on the end. Kind of pinch in the ends together to seal them together. Kind of want to get it all in there. I have my greased Pullman pan just to kind of scoop it up, and I'm going to drop it in my pan. There we go. And kind of work it down in there with my spatula. All right, so I have my pumpkin bread in the pan, and I'm going to cover it up, and we're going to let this ferment, let it proof for about 3 hours. So as soon as we have this done in about 3 hours, we will be back. Now I've already done the other loaf, so we have 2 loaves, and so let's get these proofed. Okay, we're back. So our shaped loaves have been proofing for about 3 hours at room temperature in their pans. This is their second rise, and we're ready now to pop these into the oven. They've about doubled in size, as you can see, and they're looking very good. So we're going to pop these in a conventional oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35 to 40 minutes. So let's get these in the oven and then get them on the cooling racks, and then we're going to test them, taste them, eat them. They look great and they smell good, and they're not even baked yet. So let's get these into the oven. Oh my gosh, look at these beauties. Oh, this looks wonderful. Sourdough pumpkin swirl bread. We have to let these cool down in the pans for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to take them out, put them over here on the cooling rack. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait about an hour for them to cool off before we can cut into them. But before we go away, we do need to test the internal temperature. And we need to have about 190 degrees to make sure this bread is done. And let's see, we're up to 180, going up, and we're at 189.9. I think that's close enough to 190. So this bread is done. So always make sure you test the internal temperature to make sure your bread is done. All right, be back in an hour. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes and we've taken our sourdough pumpkin swirl bread loaves out of their tins, and now they have to cool down for about an hour. So we're going to dig into these pretty soon. All right, we're back. Our loaves of sourdough pumpkin swirl bread have cooled down completely, and we're ready to give these a try. Now, before we get started, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe, comment, and share with other people. Also, you see that subscribe button down there? That's the button to hit. And so let's go ahead and cut into this, okay? So let's just go across here. This is looking so good. I'm using a serrated knife and just cutting down through here. Let's see how this looks. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that. That is looking wonderful. But let's go ahead and give it a taste, shall we? All right, where do I want to bite into this where I can get some of that great pumpkin spice flavor? That is terrific. Now, it's kind of like a cinnamon roll in a way, but it's pumpkin bread and pumpkin spice swirl throughout. It's so tasty. Normally I say I need a glass of milk, but in this case, I think this would be great with coffee. This is so good. Just look at that. That is tasty. Now I have 2 loaves here. So one I'll give away to a friend. Anytime that you make bread, it's always best to make 2 loaves. If you're going to go through all that effort, keep one for yourself and give one away. That's the nice thing to do. That's what we like to do anyway. Okay, so if you like this recipe, we've got a lot more in the link below. So go ahead and check out our Substack website to get a bunch of other cookie, cakes, breads, recipes. And also, if you like this recipe, how about checking out this one up here? I think you're going to like it too. And thanks for joining us today on the Mountaintop Kitchen. Hope you can bake up some pumpkin stuff for your fall baking. See you later. Bye.